A tragedy in the artist's house. Ryan was a famous artist. Unfortunately, when he was 60, he had an accident that left him blind. The man hired 3 people to help him: Jason, the driver, Laura, the housekeeper, and Timothy. He looked after the garden. One afternoon, Timothy went to talk to Ryan and found the artist on the floor. Someone had attacked him. The police arrived to investigate. Jason told him he and Ryan had had a great time in the morning playing computer games. Then he left to pick up Ryan's daughter from the airport. Laura said she'd spent all day in the kitchen cooking dinner. And Timothy said that before finding Ryan, he had been at the market choosing new fruit trees for the garden. Who is behind the attack? It was Jason. Ryan was blind and couldn't play computer games. Bizarre guests. When Melissa was traveling around Europe, she met several girls who were from the same city as her. They got along very well. When all of them returned from the trip, Melissa decided to organize a get-together and invited them to her house. The girls came with a big cake and lots of colorful balloons. But even before they touched the food or drinks, Melissa felt dizzy and lost consciousness. When the girl recovered, she was having a splitting headache. There was nobody around, and all her money and other valuables were missing. Melissa looked at the photos taken before she fainted. After examining them for a couple of minutes, she understood what had happened. Can you figure it out? There was sleeping gas in the balloons. The other girls must have put on face masks not to be affected by the gas. When Melissa lost consciousness, they took all her expensive stuff and left. Wow, time to get some better friends, huh? A mysterious disappearance. Stephen called the police and told him his wife Lisa was missing. She called her husband at 8 in the evening and told him she was about to go home, but she never arrived. The police questioned 3 suspects. Ashley, Lisa's best friend, said she had just returned from her vacation. Mark, the neighbor, was sure he'd seen Lisa in the afternoon, driving off in her car. And Paul, Lisa's colleague, told the police he'd spotted the woman in a shopping mall in the evening. Who's lying? Paul knows something about Lisa's whereabouts. The woman wasn't in the shopping mall that night. She was at a movie theater. A call to the police. Amanda was going through a deserted park when someone hit her on the head. When she recovered, her bag, along with her phone, money, and documents, were gone. There were no people around but for one elderly lady. Amanda rushed toward her, explained the situation, and asked to call the police. The lady told her not to worry and started to press 911 on her phone. After talking for a minute, she said, "They're going to be here in no time." As soon as Amanda heard these words, she sprinted off. Why? Amanda saw the lady's phone didn't have any signal. Then how could she call the police? A suspicious senior citizen. A date. Betty was on cloud 9 after 2 guys asked her out. But she felt she couldn't give hope to both of them. She had to choose one. Stephen was her secret crush. From a rich family, handsome and smart. She'd been dreaming about him for a year. John was a good guy too. She knew for sure he was kind and funny. The girl was at a loss. Which one should she pick? Any ideas? Betty should go for John. Stephen isn't serious about her. He has a lipstick mark on his neck, left there by Stanley. So yeah, better choose John. A bizarre code. Brian's friends invited him to spend the summer vacation in Europe with them. Unfortunately, the guy had serious study problems. To punish him, his dad took his passport away and locked it in a safe. The only way for Brian to get his documents and have some fun was to crack the code. Yeah, we still don't want to crack the books, huh? When he sneaked into his dad's study, he saw a piece of paper stuck to the safe. There were 3 drawings on it: a rose, a rainbow, a calico cat, and a banana. Brian thought for a while and then pressed 4 numbers. The code was correct and the safe opened. Which numbers were they? Two, 7, 3, 1. Each digit corresponds to the numbers of colors of the objects in the picture. An anxious husband. A man called the police. He could hardly talk. "My wife! She got into a car accident!" When the police arrived, the woman had been already rushed to a hospital. The detectives found out that she had crashed into a tree right next to her house. The car was beyond repair. One of the police officers examined the vehicle and saw the woman's bag. Inside, he found her driver's license and car keys, some money and bank cards, a notebook, and her passport. After that, the husband was immediately arrested. Why? How could the woman's car key be in her bag if she was driving? That's a good question. Find the thief. Detective Lawrence was walking along the street when he heard someone screaming. He rushed over there and saw a teenager crying. What happened? "I was talking to my friend when someone grabbed my phone and pushed me to the ground. When I came to my senses, there was no one around, but I saw that cafe's door closing." The detective entered the cafe the girl was talking about and looked around. There were 5 people inside. All of them seemed to be rather decent. Can you figure out who's the criminal? It's the man near the coffee machine. His drink is still steaming. It means he just bought it. A crime in the neighborhood. One day, Mr. Martin called the police. His car was stolen right from the street outside his house. The detective questioned 3 suspects. Eric, a teenager who lived next door, said he had been at school and had seen nothing suspicious. Amy, a young artist renting a house across the street, had been too engrossed in her work to pay attention to her surroundings. But Mr. Brandon, an elderly man whose house was next to Amy's, accused Eric of taking the car. Mr. Brandon was having his breakfast when he saw the teenager get into the vehicle and drive off. Strangely, after his words, the police officers arrested the elderly man. Why? The only thing Mr. Brandon could see out of his window during breakfast was his tall brick wall. Desperate for help. Kenneth, a newbie police officer, was walking along the street, proudly wearing his uniform. Suddenly, a pretty girl rushed toward him. "Help!" she screamed. "I've been mugged!" After Kenneth made her calm down, the girl told him her story. "I was walking home from college when a man ran up to me. He hit me in the eye and took all my jewelry and money." When Kenneth heard this, he immediately realized the girl was lying. How? The girl was wearing glasses. If the criminal had hit her in the eye, her glasses would have been shattered. A runaway wife. Sharon's husband was a wealthy businessman. He never had time for his wife. One day, the young woman had enough. She took some money and ran away. She knew it wouldn't be difficult for her husband to find her. That's why she tried to be as discreet as possible. The next hotel where she checked in was good, but nothing special. She hardly had enough time to unpack her things when someone knocked on the door. The man said he was from the reception. But when Sharon opened the door, she realized her husband's people had found her. How did she figure it out? The man's uniform was different from the one the hotel receptionists were wearing. A missing collection. Mr. Bernard had an unusual hobby. He collected rare watches. One day, he came home and discovered his collection was gone. He called the police. They decided to start by questioning the man's neighbors. George said he had a busy day – meetings, video conferences, emails. Anna told police she had been feeling unwell since the very morning. She canceled all her plans and stayed in bed. Jason said his car had broken down and he'd been repairing it for the whole day. One person seemed suspicious enough for the police to arrest them. Who was it? Anna was lying. Look at her, all dressed up, wearing accessories and makeup. She doesn't look like a person who has spent all day in bed. A blatant lie. A famous pop singer, Anthony Black, was attacked after his concert. He was taken to a hospital. The police questioned several of his fans. Linda was crying. "I took Anthony's autograph and couldn't wait to boast to my friends about it." Lisa said, "I asked Mr. Black to sign his photo. After I got it, I went to buy a coffee." Jason added, "Anthony was super nice and friendly. I didn't notice anything strange." The police immediately arrested the fan who seemed suspicious. Who was it? It was Lisa. The autograph in the photo looks different from the singer's real signature.
Three girls go to the best Halloween party in town and they decide to go dressed as a vampire. The thing is, one of them is an actual vampire. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who the vampire is? Let's see. The first girl had fangs, but they are completely fake. The third girl is drinking what looks like blood, but it's just a Bloody Mary. And the girl in the middle, she's trying to get away from the garlic someone is holding. She's definitely the vampire. Tina, Izzy and Mandy were in a bit of a tight spot financially. They strolled into a local corner store with an evil plan in mind. One of them would steal some food. Little did they know, Officer Jake had his eyes glued to the shop's security cameras. Let's check out the snapshots. Can you spot the chip thief? Yep, it's Tina. While Izzy might be breaking a sweat, she's not up to anything fishy. But if you peek at Tina's hair, you'll see a sneaky stash of chips tucked into that ponytail. Case cracked. In the afternoon, Detective Ace got a call to check out a burglary at Mr. Brooks' house. Mr. Brook claimed his fancy watch had gone missing. When Ace got there, he spotted the front door wide open with muddy footprints going into the living room. And guess what? More mud on the staircase. After poking around a bit, Ace put two and two together. He marched upstairs and slapped the cuffs on Mr. Brooks' son. But why him? Well, Ace noticed something fishy. No footprints leading out of the house. That meant the thief was still kicking around inside. Bingo! Another case cracked by Detective Ace. Detective Flynn was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. A priceless diamond disappeared, and the thief left no trace behind. After analysing the museum's security cameras, Detective Flynn gathered three suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime, and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a foreign group through a tour of the museum. They visited the diamond on the first bit of the tour, and the diamond was still shining bright in its place. The visitor said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the medzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these three interviews, Detective Flynn found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. And plus, Take a look at that string he is fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Flynn pulled it from under his sleeve. And voila! The diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Meet Harold, the proud proprietor of a high-end butcher shop in the heart of downtown. One bustling morning, as Harold was tending to a surge of customers, he failed to notice a sneaky theft unfolding right under his nose. The prized bacon had vanished into thin air. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who's the culprit? Well, look at the guy in the suit. Notice how that dog's nose is practically glued to his bag? Looks like someone's hiding more than just business papers in there. Case closed. After returning from a thrilling adventure in Morocco, Emily couldn't wait to share her latest treasure, a stunning turquoise necklace she'd picked up during her travels. Eager to show it off, she decided to throw an intimate gathering for her closest pals. But the morning after her soiree, Emily made a disheartening discovery. The prized necklace was nowhere to be found. In a bid to crack the case, Emily asked for the help of a detective. She showed him snapshots from the previous night. Can you figure it out too? Check out the girl sporting the stylish hat. Notice anything peculiar? At 1 a.m., her hat sits flat as a pancake. But fast forward to 2 a.m. and suddenly it's transformed into a pointed shape, just like the silhouette of a necklace. Looks like we've found our thief. The day started quietly at Detective Sharp's office until around noon, when he got an alarming call from Jack. Jack informed the detective that all the funds from his safe had mysteriously disappeared. Sharp requested Jack to recount the events in detail. Jack explained that while he was tallying the contents of his safe, the lights in the room flickered out. He had recently replaced them with fluorescent bulbs, and when he tried to fix them, they emitted an unusual amount of heat. In his attempt to address this issue, he fell to the floor, and when he gained consciousness again, he saw all his money was gone. Detective Sharp immediately sensed something was off in Jack's account. Can you figure out what? Fluorescent lights typically do not generate excessive heat. Therefore, it is highly unlikely that Jack's injuries were caused by them. He figured Jack made up the whole thing just to get access to some insurance money. Yikes. Samantha and her buddies opted for a weekend getaway at a rustic cabin nestled in the woods. They woke up to a nasty surprise. All their food stash had vanished. Total bummer. With no clues indoors, the gang decided to scour the surrounding woods. Lo and behold, what did they stumble upon? Take a look at the image and see if you can find the culprit. Take a peek. A bunch of bare footprints at the upper left corner. Not just one, but a whole bear family's worth. And what's this? An Oreo wrapper lying around as clear as day. Looks like those furry critters were the snack snatchers, no doubt about it. Mystery solved. The local police station received a frantic call reporting a bank robbery with the suspect spotted entering Riverview High School. The police chief wasted no time and dashed over to the school, where he found 2 teachers on duty. And guess what? He quickly sniffed out the thief among them. Can you find the thief as well? Check out the second teacher's long-sleeved shirt. Looks like there's some cash peeking out of there. She's definitely the culprit. Case closed. Another day, another swift resolution in Rivertown. Miss Ruby isn't just any old passenger, she's a thrill-seeking adventurer. And her latest discovery, a sparkling sapphire amulet, had mysteriously disappeared. Desperate for answers, she called Inspector Crimson to help her solve the case. After grilling every character aboard the train, Inspector Crimson narrowed it down to 3 prime suspects. First up, we have Mr. Berlin, a quirky inventor with a knack for gadgets. Then there's Madame Velvet, the glamorous cabaret singer who's always the center of attention. And last but not least, we've got Mr. Jazz, a smooth-talking saxophonist. Take a look at the images and give it your best at solving this crime. Let's see. Madame Velvet? She's too busy hitting the high notes to bother with pilfering precious jewels. That leaves us with Mr. Jazz, and if you take a peek beneath his saxophone case, you'll spot a glimmer of sapphire peeking out. Case cracked, folks!
Gemma entered a haunted house to take pictures. But suddenly, someone closed the door and locked her inside. She spent the whole day in total darkness. Then, the lights turned on, and a creepy clown appeared in front of her. "There's a game I want to play with you," he said. The clown offered Gemma 3 bowls of soup. 2 of them are poisoned and 1 is safe. If she chooses the safe one, the clown will set her free. Can you help Gemma to make a wise choice? Ingredients in the first soup look like pills. The second soup contains suspicious blue carrots. Probably these are not safe, therefore the green one is safe. Can you find a hidden number in this picture? That's right, it's 9175. Can you find a hidden number in this picture? That's right, it's 341. But I'm sure you'll manage to spot a hidden number in this picture. Well done, it's 900. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot the owner of this dog? The red-haired lady is the owner of the dog. Take a look at the dog's collar. It has a picture of the owner. Paul worked in a large company. He left the office to have lunch one day, but he didn't find his car in the parking lot. He immediately called the police. The police soon found the car and started to chase the criminal. But the criminal left the car and ran to the park. The police caught 3 suspects. Jill said she was jogging in the park. Peter was waiting for his girlfriend. And Amy was walking and enjoying nature. Who stole the car? Amy. Although she was enjoying nature, she had the same key that had gone missing. Can you find a hidden dice among all these pieces of cheese? It's over here. Although it looks like cheese, you better watch your teeth. Take a look at this pattern. Can you spot an odd detail? This bunch has more grapes than the others. Let's dive into the water for a while. The bottom of the ocean is full of life, but can you see any fish? It's hiding over here. Here's an eye challenge to read a blurred quote. Can you see this phrase? It says, "Well done is better than well said." Can you spot a panda and a soccer ball among all these snowmen? The ball is over here, and the panda is hiding in the right corner. Look at this picture very attentively. Can you see anything dangerous in this picture? A snake is hiding in the bushes. One morning, Dan went to work as usual. He was a professional athlete and had a lot of awards. When he got back home, he found out that his most valuable trophy was gone. His gold medal was stolen. He called the police to report the missing medal. The detective interrogated Bob's neighbor and found 4 suspects: Rick, Tom, Sarah, and Molly. Each neighbor was carrying a house plan. Who robbed Dan? It was Sarah. Look, the house plan matches his house perfectly. Josh ordered some delicious sushi for a picnic outdoors. Look at the picture carefully. Can you spot any odd components in this meal? There's a green caterpillar in here. See? It probably fell from a tree. I wouldn't recommend eating that anyway. Someone painted the entire playground in the park with graffiti. The police questioned 3 suspects. The detective didn't tell them what he had suspected them of. He asked one simple question: "What are you doing in this park?" Robert said he was going to the birthday of his friend who lives near the park. Rick was looking for his missing dog, who had run away this morning. And Derek was just having lunch in the park. He didn't see any graffiti artists. Who is suspicious? Derek. The detective didn't say anything about the graffiti, but Derek already started defending himself. Can you find the hidden gold coin? It's over here in the left corner. Look at this pattern very attentively. Can you spot anything odd? Someone has bitten this banana. Can you find the right shadow? The correct answer is D. Can you see any numbers on this picture? The correct answer is 1479. Look at these ladies. They all look nice, but the one you choose will tell you something about your personality. If you choose the first lady, you're very friendly and easygoing. Some people may think you're too naive, but you're just a very sensitive and curious person who sees life as an adventure. If you chose the second lady, you're a very loyal and passionate person. When you're in love, you become invincible. If you chose the third lady, it means you love to have fun and nothing can confuse you or make you feel down. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot a person who's in the safest position? The guy in the car is the safest. What number do you see in this picture puzzle? Number 517. Ryan wants to get a job at the museum. He successfully passed the interview, but his employer gave him a final test. Help Ryan determine which portrait is antique. This guy is wearing a fitness tracker, so he's probably not from the Middle Ages. The lady looks very authentic, but take a look at this lamp. Therefore, the portrait of this mysterious old man is original. Good job, Ryan, you're hired. Can you spot a penguin among the toucans? This guy over here. Jack and Jill just moved into a new house. While they were unpacking their boxes, the doorbell rang. They opened the door and saw 3 neighbors standing on the porch. Kitty brought cupcakes, Mrs. Green brought soup, and Amber brought an apple pie. Help Jill and Jack identify the safe neighbor. Kitty's cupcakes contain cockroaches. Amber's cake seems to have some pills hidden in the apples. Therefore, Mrs. Green with her strange soup is the most harmless neighbor. Can you find... Time is up. It's over here. Tina was preparing a birthday dinner in the kitchen. An hour later, her friend found her unconscious on the floor. She called the ambulance and the police arrived to question witnesses. The detective discovered 3 clues: 1 sneaker, 1 glove, and 1 slipper. Then he asked the witnesses to describe what they were doing while Tina was preparing the dinner. Soon, the detective found out who poisoned Tina. How did he know? Tina left a left shoe, left glove, and left slipper. She was trying to show that the poisoner was left-handed. What's wrong with this picture? If you saw a raccoon walking on 2 legs first, you're probably a very intelligent and strong-willed person. Friends can always count on your loyalty. If you promise something, you'll never break your word. If you spotted 2 suns first, you're a very calm and open-minded person. You prefer to avoid drama and unnecessary attention. But people come to you for advice and support because you view this world as a whole, and your opinions are sage and impartial. If you noticed a tree blooming in the middle of winter, it means that you're a very romantic and sentimental person. You feel the beauty of this world very intensely, and you need an environment that will nourish your soul and appreciate your uniqueness. With this kind of support, you can easily make this world a better place. Parents helped 3 friends, Brian, Aaron, and Henry, pack for their first day of school. Take a look at the guys. Whose parent is the most inattentive? Henry is holding a lunchbox full of delicious homemade food. Brian's textbook has a post-it note, "Love Mom," on it. He probably has a caring mother. And Aaron is wearing a t-shirt over his jacket. Plus, his socks are different and untidy. It's unlikely that an attentive parent would have let him go out like this. Gemma woke up in a mysterious castle. She walked around the building searching for an exit. Soon, the girl got exhausted and hungry. That's when Gemma found the kitchen. She noticed 4 dishes on the table. They looked great, but she wasn't sure if it was safe to eat them. Help Gemma to determine which food is safe. Take a closer look at the soup. Can you see human eyes in it? The steak has poison on it. There are spiders in the burgers. But the pasta looks pretty harmless. Rob and Jessica celebrated their honeymoon on a luxurious cruise liner. But suddenly, the weather changed and the ship got in a terrible storm. After the storm, Rob found his wife unconscious in their cabin. The safe was open, all their money and jewelry were gone. Jessica told Rob that she'd hit her head during the storm and passed out. Rob investigated this crime along with the ship's staff. They found 3 suspects. Alex claimed that during the storm, he'd stayed in his bathroom because he'd been feeling very sick. Eric was lifting a barbell in the gym. He was a professional bodybuilder. And Tom said he'd been sleeping. Rob knew that for sure 2 people had lied to him. Who exactly? Eric couldn't have been lifting a barbell during the storm. And if you take a closer look at Jessica, you'll see that her pockets are filled with jewelry and bills. This means they're both involved in the scam. 3 clocks are hanging on the wall, but only one of them is trustworthy. Which one? There's a spider web on the hands of the first clock. It means they haven't moved for a long time. The time this clock shows can't be correct. The second clock has some of its numbers positioned in the wrong order. 12 and 9 are mixed up, but the third clock looks trustworthy. Kelly invited her besties over to have a pajama party, but one of the people in the room is a thief. Who? The thief is hiding under the bed. Professor Harold left his office at about 9 p.m. He got caught in heavy rain on the way home. It was raining all night, and the next morning, Professor Harold was late for work because of traffic jams. When he finally arrived at his office, he found that someone had broken the lock and covered all the walls with graffiti. The man interrogated 4 suspects who had recently failed his test. Jenny said she'd done yoga and gone to bed early. Rick was in the gym all evening. Lily was hanging out with her boyfriend in the park, gazing at stars. And Vicky worked the night shift at the movie theater. Who's lying? It's Lily. It was raining all night and she couldn't be watching stars in the park. Look at the picture. Can you find the odd flower? It's this little one in the left corner. 4 beauty pageant finalists were preparing for their last performance.
Oh no!
Suddenly, Helen discovered that someone had ruined her evening gown. Helen questioned the other girls. Courtney said she'd been having her makeup done. The stylist could confirm that. Jennifer was too busy talking to the reporters, and Kelly was taking pictures for her Instagram. Who ruined Helen's outfit? It was Jennifer. Take a look at her hair. She's hiding scissors. Parents went to the country and left their son Jim and their dog Chuck alone for one evening. It was Friday night and Jim decided to throw a party. He invited 3 of his friends. When they came over, Chuck began to bark at the guests. So Jim locked the dog in his parents' bedroom. Half an hour later, Jim decided to visit the pet, but when he opened the door, he discovered the dog was gone, even though all the windows were closed. Jim questioned his guests. Rob had been playing video games. Nora had been recording a TikTok dance in the living room. And Dan had been making snacks in the kitchen together with Jim. Who stole the dog? Jim's parents pranked him. See? They're hiding in the bushes, and the dog is with them. Take a look at the picture. Can you spot a thief? He's hiding behind this tree. Look at these monkeys. 3 of them are different from the others. Can you see them? This monkey is holding its baby. This one hiding a banana. And this monkey is looking in the opposite direction. Nurse Zoe received an anonymous message claiming that a vampire had broken into the hospital. While inspecting the wards, Zoe ran into 3 people in the hallway: Jules, Sam, and Debbie. Help Zoe figure out which of them is the real vampire. Debbie has red lipstick all over her face because she came over to visit her boyfriend, Sam. Look, they're secretly holding hands. Sam also has traces of Debbie's red lipstick on his face and neck. And Jules is carrying a huge backpack with a red stain. She must have stolen some donated blood. Look at the picture. Who will manage to escape the prison? The first prisoner. The lock is already open in this ward, and the second prisoner has yet to pick the lock. Look at these women attentively. There's a thief among them. Can you identify the criminal? It's the third woman. She's holding the phone that belongs to the fourth lady. Her portrait is printed on the phone case. Nancy has been dreaming of visiting an exhibition of her favorite artist for ages. When the exhibition finally arrived in her town, Nancy called 3 of her friends to invite them to go with her, but they all refused. Wendy said she was going to a concert and had already bought the tickets. Shannon said she was sick and didn't want to leave home. And Vicky had to take her sister to a dance class. Nancy got upset and decided to put off her visit to the museum until the next day. After a couple of hours, Nancy looked through her friend's social media and got very angry. One of her friends lied to her. Who was the liar? It was Shannon. She's in Wendy's picture from the concert. In the morning, Dr. Jill arrived at the hospital and went to the ward to meet new patients. When Jill saw them, she understood immediately that one of the patients was fake. Which one? It's the first patient. The hair color of the woman in the photo is different from hers. Detective Daniel was asked to come to a hotel. Someone had robbed the most expensive room there. The detective checked the footage from the security cameras, but didn't see anything suspicious. He questioned the hotel guests. Karen showed him a theater ticket and said she'd visited the opera the evening before. Jane was very tired, so she went home and fell asleep. Harold spent his evening by the swimming pool and didn't notice anything suspicious. Can you help Detective Daniel to identify the robber? Jane was a hotel guest. Why would she go home to sleep? It was Halloween night, and Joy was preparing her house for a party. Suddenly, a group of people in scary costumes rang Joy's doorbell and shouted, "Trick or treat!" Joy went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and found out that all sweets prepared for unexpected guests had disappeared. She called her 3 sisters and questioned them. Beth said she'd been taking a bath. Mary had been out buying decorations for the birthday party. And Erica was watching a tutorial. She wanted to have the best Halloween makeup. Which sister took the candies? Mary. She said she had bought some birthday decorations, but it was a Halloween party. Peter came back home in the middle of the working day because he had left his cell phone in the apartment. In the living room, he saw his roommate Brian lying on the couch unconscious. A paramedic was standing next to him. He said that Brian had been poisoned. Fortunately, he managed to call an ambulance before passing out. Peter took his phone and immediately called the police. The guy said that a fake paramedic had broken into his house and poisoned his roommate. How did Peter figure it out? In front of the house, there's only one car, and it's not an ambulance. On his 50th birthday, Gerald got a weird call from his ex-girlfriend, Debbie. They dated in college when Gerald was 24. Debbie confessed they had a daughter, Vicky. On her 25th birthday, Vicky learned the truth about her real father and ran away from home. Gerald promised Debbie to find Vicky and hired an investigator. Next week, the detective brought 3 young ladies to Gerald's house. Help the man identify his real daughter. This is the third girl. She has red hair, like Gerald, and gray eyes, like Debbie. Walter came to visit his girlfriend Becky at work. She was a barista at a scientific research center. When Walter entered the coffee shop, he saw 2 Beckys quarreling with each other. When they spotted the man, each of them shouted, "Kick her out! She's my evil clone!" Help Walter identify the real Becky. Take a look at the coffee shop logo. The logo on the uniform of the girl standing on the left looks weird. She must be the clone.
Lost inheritance. Larry's granddad was a wealthy man who loved playing pranks on his relatives. That's why, when he passed away, no one could find his will. But one day, 5 years later, Larry was looking through some old papers. Suddenly, his breath caught in his throat. The document he was holding was his granddad's will. It read, "I hid all my money and other valuables at 2 p.m. sharp under my favorite cherry tree, right where its shadow ends. The one who digs it out will be my heir." Larry was ecstatic. He was going to be rich. He drove to his granddad's villa and found the cherry tree. He waited for an hour or so until 2 p.m. and started to dig. But try as he might, his efforts didn't pay off. Confused and upset, he had to return home. Why didn't he find anything? It's been several years since the granddad hid his valuables. The tree has grown taller, and its shadow has become longer too. A smart investigator. A man living in a small village in the mountains got his goat stolen. He was sure one of his neighbors was behind this crime. The head of the village invited 4 suspects and said, "I'm going to give each of you a magic stick. Bring them to me in the morning. By that time, the thief's stick will have grown by 5 inches." The next day, the head of the village examined the suspect's stick. He immediately knew who had taken the goat. How? The thief's stick was 5 inches shorter than those of the rest. He had broken it, expecting it to grow longer during the night. A realization. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a boy painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh. But then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant they had mustaches on their faces as well. An apple riddle. Eric was locked in a room with 19 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Eric had to place an apple in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The guy managed to do it. How? He put the apple on one person's head. A weird choice. Every day, Mark rides his bike to the railway station to get to the college. There are 2 stops near his home. One 1 mile away from his house, and the other 2 miles away in the opposite direction. In the morning, he always gets on the train at the first stop. And in the afternoon, he gets off at the second. Why? Mark's home and the stations are on the hill, and this method allows the guy to ride his bike down without any effort. A draw. 2 teams were playing soccer against each other. Each of them scored 2 goals in total, and still it wasn't a tie since one team won and the other lost. How come? One of the teams scored scored an own goal. Time travel. An inventor has created a time machine. He's packed enough food, water, and other necessities and is now ready to test his invention. He sets the timer to go 500 years back into the past. The man is about to press the start button when a thought comes to his mind. He slaps his forehead, takes the time machine and his supplies, and goes downstairs. What for? This way, he'll avoid a nasty fall. Multi-story buildings were rare 5 centuries ago. A money problem. A notorious criminal caught rich businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then, how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. Granted wishes. Amanda was walking along the beach one day and found a glass bottle. The thing looked ancient, and the girl had to put a lot of effort into opening it. To her shock, guess what? A genie appeared from the bottle. "I'll grant you 3 wishes, but there's one condition. You can't wish for more wishes." Amanda agreed and still managed to get more wishes. How did she do it? She started with wishing that the genie allowed her to ask for more wishes. Strange reaction. 2 British women wanted to lose weight. They went to the gym, ate healthily, and drank a lot of water. In 2 weeks, both of them lost 10 pounds. But one woman was happy and the other upset. Why? The first woman lost weight, and the second, 10 pounds in UK money. 11. How did she survive? Melissa stayed late at work one evening. When she was walking home, it was already dark. Suddenly, she noticed a group of people. They were moving in a strange, jerky way, closer and closer. With growing horror, Melissa realized the approaching people were actually zombies. In a moment, she got surrounded. Then, darkness. And still, the next day, the girl was in the kitchen making herself a vegetable salad. How is it possible? Look at the date. It's November 1st. It was Halloween the day before, and zombies were just some dressed-up guys. Beach volleyball. Andrew and his friend Kenneth went to the beach to have some fun. Andrew started to play volleyball with Gary, a guy they met there. After the game was over, Andrew went to a beach bar and ordered a lemonade. But after drinking it, he almost immediately felt sick and lost consciousness. Kenneth called an ambulance and his friend was taken to a hospital. There it was discovered Andrew had been poisoned. The police questioned the suspects. Kenneth said, "I'm sure the barman put something in Andrew's drink." The barman exclaimed, "Why would I poison my customer? It was probably the guy he played volleyball with. He lost the game and wanted to get revenge." Gary said, "After we finished playing, I went to swim in the sea. I didn't even notice Andrew had been taken away." Who poisoned Andrew? It was the barman. He lied about Gary losing the game to frame the guy. A teacher's riddle. A student had failed his test and came to his teacher asking how he could improve his marks. The teacher replied, "If you manage to solve my riddle, I'll give you a better mark. You have a cardboard box. It's easier to lift from a wooden floor than from a steel table. What's in the box?" The student thought for a while and answered correctly. What did he say? The box is filled with magnets. A missing model. Ashley was a popular fashion model. On Friday, she had to open a show, but 10 minutes before the event, she vanished. Several witnesses claimed the girl had been taken away in a black car. The police questioned 4 suspects. Betty, Ashley's colleague, said, "I felt sleepy before the show. I'd made myself a cup of coffee and was drinking it when Ashley disappeared." Kevin, the manager, told the detective some equipment had been broken. He was trying to solve this problem. Paul, the hairstylist, explained that he had been refreshing the model's makeup. And Donna, the designer, said she had only come several minutes before the show. Who was behind Ashley's disappearance? It's Paul. He's a hairstylist, and they don't deal with makeup. Plus, there are no beauty products at his station. In disguise. A feared criminal managed to escape from the police. He got a job in a wealthy mansion. When the detectives arrived there, they found out 3 men had been hired recently. They questioned each of them. Michael, the cook, told the police he had been working in a restaurant before. But then the restaurant went out of business and he found a new job. John, the gardener, answered he had always been interested in plants. After finishing garden design courses, he landed this job. Robert, the security guard, said his father was the house owner's friend. He helped Robert to get his position. Who's the criminal? It's the cook. Before the police came, he'd been trying to make an omelet. But look, it's full of eggshells. A real cook would never make such a mistake. A train mystery. It's something that comes with a train, leaves with a train, but is no use to a train. And yet, no train can go without it. What is it? It's noise. Yeah, really. There are 3 students, Peter, Everett, and Leah. One of them isn't a real person. Can you tell who? It's Everett. He doesn't cast a shadow. Look at 3 friends, Ariel Vandenberg, Danica Hall, and Simone. The first girl has a long one, the second girl has a short one, and the third girl doesn't use hers. What is it? It's their last names. Juniper loves sleeping. She sleeps 10 hours every day. Still, there's 1 month when she sleeps in total a bit less than during the other months. What is this month, and why does this girl sleep less? It's February. There are just 28 or 29 days in this month, which means fewer nights. Andy and Carter went camping in the woods on the weekend. 1 week later, Andy came to the police. He said Carter had led him deep into the forest, and while Andy was sleeping, his friend left him there. Then Andy had to wander alone for a week until he found some road leading to civilization. He came to the police to report the accident immediately. Carter denied doing that, claiming that they had come back home together. Who's lying? Andy is too clean-shaven for a person who has just got out of the woods. I'll bet he made up his story. Esme was walking in the forest. Once it got dark, she headed home but got lost. She was wandering around the forest until she found the witch's house. She came in, said hi to the witch and her grandson, who was still staying with his granny, and petted the cat. The witch had another riddle for Esme to solve if she wanted to get out. She wrote down a number. There were 2 special things about it. What were they? First, this number contains all existing digits. Second, they're put in alphabetical order. Mrs. Cooper was going to the bank when she passed out. Cece was passing by when she noticed the woman on the ground. She called the ambulance and the police. Soon the woman came to her senses, but she found out that someone had stolen all her money. There were 3 suspects, Cece and 2 other pedestrians, Teo and Mason. Who is the thief? Look, there are 2 types of footsteps leading to the place where Mrs. Cooper is lying. One of them belongs to her, and the other was left by Cece. There are also 2 parallel straight lines, which must be the prints left by a wheelchair. So, the thief must be the man in the wheelchair, Mason. Mrs. Ford reported to the police that her neighbor, Anthony, had stolen her golden figurine. She said, "I was upstairs vacuum cleaning when I heard someone enter the house. I walked up to the window and saw my neighbor leaving the house a half-minute later. When I went downstairs, I saw that my golden figurine had been stolen." Anthony denied passing by Mrs. Ford's house that day. Who should the detective believe? He should believe Anthony. Vacuum cleaners are noisy, so Mrs. Ford couldn't possibly hear anyone enter her house. Cheryl was having a birthday party. She noticed that her brother was staying in his room with some girl, but she didn't know who it was. Cheryl got curious, so after they left, she sneaked into his room to look for some hints. There were 3 girls at the party, Jasmine, Willow, and Sylvia. Cheryl immediately guessed who her brother was dating. Can you figure it out? It's Sylvia. Look, there's a jacket in the room. Sylvia was wearing it at the party. Now I'll show you some pictures, and you'll need to understand what's wrong with them. Let's go. Here's the first one. The door hinges and the handle are on the same side of the door. Doors don't work this way. Here's another one. What's wrong here? The woman isn't wearing a necklace, but it's reflected in the mirror. And what about this one? Nine and 11 are messed up. It should be the other way around. This one should be easy, but keep your eyes wide open. Right, there's no red traffic light. Paris went on an expedition to a desert for a month. She didn't have a strong internet connection, so she couldn't talk to her boyfriend often. Still, one day, she managed to video call him. But that call didn't end well. The girl broke up with the guy. Why? Look at the background. It's nighttime for Paris's boyfriend, but he is obviously having dinner with some girl. There's a second plate and a glass with a lipstick print on it. Storm was walking with his friend in the park. Suddenly, it started raining, and they had to go home. Storm ran back as fast as he could because he didn't have a raincoat, an umbrella, or even a hood. Still, when he finally got home after running in the rain for 10 minutes, not a single hair on his head was wet. How is it possible? Storm was bald. In an alternate reality, Mrs. Savad was trying to persuade her daughter, Amy, to go to a party. Amy wanted to do her homework instead. Weird, huh? Mrs. Savad bought Amy an amazing dress, but the girl still refused. It continued until her mom promised that if Amy went to that party, She'd let her do her homework 16 hours a day every day for another month. Later, Mrs. Savad left for her own party. When she returned, she realized that Amy hadn't left the house. How did she know? There's still a price tag on the dress, which means that Amy didn't wear it. Violet had a genius but crazy sister who was always making traps in the basement. One day, Violet went downstairs to get her laundry. As soon as she walked in, the door got locked and wouldn't open. There were 3 buttons. Violet knew that one of them would open the door, but the other 2 would electrocute her. Luckily, her sister had mercy. There was a hint. Which of the buttons will let Violet get out of the basement? If you put the letters in the right order, you'll see purple button written there. That's the one. Mrs. West came to the police station asking to check on her husband. She said that he was in his office when she called him. Suddenly, she heard her husband fall to the floor, and about 10 seconds later, he hung up without saying anything. She called him again, then she came to his office, but he didn't open the door. The detective arrived at the office and found Mr. West unconscious. The detective was sure that the man wasn't alone in the room when it all happened. Why? Someone had to hang up the phone. If the man had suddenly fainted, the phone would have fallen on the floor. You work in a baggage storage room at the airport. 3 people come and give you their bags at the same time. Now, you don't remember who each bag belongs to. Take a look inside and try to figure it out. There's just one girl, so the bag with a dress inside probably belongs to her. The blind man doesn't need this mirror, which means that this bag must belong to the bald man. And the bald man doesn't need a hairbrush, so the third bag must belong to the blind man. Lilibet always wanted to have a cat, but her mom never allowed her to get one. Once, the girl found a kitten in the street and brought it home. She knew her mom would make her take it to the shelter, so she decided to hide the animal. Once Lilibet's mom walked into the girl's room and realized there was a cat living there. How did she know that? Look, the walls and the sofa are scratched at the bottom. Mrs. Jones was working a night shift. Her daughter, Emmeline, wanted a friend to stay with her, but Mrs. Jones didn't allow it because it was a school night. When the woman returned, she realized that Emmeline had still invited her friend over. How did the woman understand it? There's a pair of earrings in the bathroom. Mrs. Jones and Emmeline don't have their ears pierced, so these must belong to someone else. Daphne suspected that her boyfriend, Dashiell, had hacked her phone and was now reading all her messages. One day, Daphne and her friend Sophie decided to go to the park. Daphne invited her boyfriend too, so he could get to know her friend. When Dashiell arrived, Daphne broke up with him. Why? She didn't tell when they were going to meet, but Dashiell still arrived at the correct time. That's how she made sure he had indeed been checking her messages. Tony and Scarlett are best friends. They wanted to spend the summer together. Unfortunately, Scarlett's grandmother fell sick, and the girl had to go to another city for the whole summer to be with her. Tony missed her friend. That's why, from time to time, she walked past her house. In a couple of weeks, Tony realized that Scarlett had lied to her about staying with her grandma. She had been home all that time. How did Tony understand it? Look at the house. One day the window is open, and the next day it's already closed. Someone's definitely living there. Mr. York was a rich gentleman living in a mansion. Once his brother came to visit him. The next day, Mr. York called the police and said that a very expensive golden cup had been stolen from his collection. The only other person in the house was his brother, so he must be the thief. The police didn't believe Mr. York. Why? The spot where the cup was supposed to stand was just as dusty as the rest of the shelf. It means that nothing had been standing there for a long time. And, like always, crime doesn't pay. You're taken into a dark cave. Your mission is to escape without getting caught. 4 different colored doors appear in front of you. A red one leads to an outer galaxy without a trace of oxygen. A yellow door leads you to a great white shark-infested water tank. A blue one leads to 66 million years ago, the time when a massive asteroid hit the Earth and made dinosaurs go extinct. And a purple door leads to a beautiful island filled with beaches and delicious food. On the wall, there's only one clue. It reads, "Pick the door that's not a primary color." You've got 10 seconds to open the right door. It's the purple door. Red, yellow, and blue are all primary colors, while purple is secondary. Plus, don't forget there's beaches and delicious food. You've managed to escape, and now you're transported to the beautiful island. You find a citizen in need. He tells you his brother had been taken by an evil mathematician, and the only way to escape is to solve his riddle. You rush to the scene and arrive at precisely 3 p.m. There, the mathematician greets you with an angry look and a tricky riddle. "If you calculate the height of my tower, you and my prisoner are free to go. If you fail, you'll stay here forever. I offer you 3 calculation methods to choose from: multiple long sticks, your shadow, or the long rope hanging from the tower. I give you 9 seconds." Without even knowing the measurements of the sticks or the length of the rope, even if they're the same height as the tower, you'd still not know the actual size of the building. The best option is your shadow. Knowing your height, you can compare how many times your shadow fits into the tower's shadow. Add them together, and you've just found the right answer. Now that you're safe and sound, you go to your hotel to get some rest. That's when the restaurant manager calls you for help. He left the dinner service and his staff members said everything was quiet, so they closed up early. Before shutting down the restaurant, the manager asked them to send him a photo of the deserted restaurant. This is the photo I received. Everything seems empty and it appears my staff members are truthful. But something seems off. Can you help me figure it out?" You've got 8 seconds. It appears the image was photoshopped. The employees removed the people from the picture, but they forgot to erase someone's hand from the table. Right before walking upstairs to your room, the HR manager calls you into her office. She needs help with a job application she received for the receptionist position. She's looking for someone who is multilingual and narrowed it down to 3 applicants. But only one person is telling the truth. Sarah is from Belgium and she speaks Dutch. Louise is from Switzerland and she speaks Swedish. Marie is from Monte Carlo and speaks Italian. You've got 7 seconds to figure out who is truthful. It's Sarah. In Belgium, they do speak Dutch, French, and German. In Switzerland, they mainly speak German, and in Monte Carlo, French. Time to go to your room and get some rest. But the elevator you entered is a trap. It takes you to the hotel's basement, where 3 doors appear in front of you. The first door takes you to the Amazon rainforest, with green anacondas, electric eels, and poison dart frogs. The second takes you to the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, the largest and most potent current globally. The third takes you to the top of Mauna Kea in Hawaii, It's the tallest mountain and largest volcano in the world that goes below sea level. Only one of them takes you to a safe place. Which one? You've got 6 seconds. Pick the third door. Mauna Kea is a dormant volcano, and it stopped erupting hundreds of thousands of years ago, so you're safe. You've made it out of the shady cave and you need to go to your room. As soon as you enter, the lights go off, and you hear bars lowering to the floor and huge chains shaking. You use your arms to navigate around and come across dots on the wooden floor. You run your fingers through them. It's Braille, and it reads, "One of the 3 magic mushrooms on this table will help you leave this place. Pick wisely, otherwise you'll be stuck in this dark room forever." The mushrooms on the left will make you super strong and provides healing powers. The one in the middle will bring the electricity back, and you'll be able to see. The one on the right will make you small and invisible. You've got 5 seconds to pick the right mushroom. Turning the lights on won't free you, and becoming invisible doesn't mean you won't bump into walls. The best option is the strength and healing mushroom. You can bang on the walls and bars until you break them. The next day rolls around. You head into the parking lot to pick up your car, but the car seems to be locked. There's a 3-digit PIN code lock on the passenger side door. On the side of the device, you read a clue. ABC equals 123. On the ground, there's a piece of paper that reads BAD. Use the clue to find PIN code numbers. Here are your 4 seconds. The code is 214. B is the second letter, A is the first, and D is the fourth. Now that you've got your car, time to do some shopping at the mall. You visit a jewelry shop. You discover it has a mysterious extension leading to a room filled with gold coins, diamonds, and other expensive metals. As soon as the owner spots you, he traps you in the room and locks the door. Nice shop. He tells you there's only one way to survive in that dark chamber. You must eat 1 muffin. If you eat the wrong one, you won't make it. But if you pick the right one, you'll be free to go. The first muffin turns you into moss. The second one turns you into a badger. The third muffin will turn you into a snake. 3 seconds. Moss can't survive without the sun for long, and snakes need the sun to regulate their body's temperature. The correct answer is the muffin that turns you into a badger. These creatures spend long periods in the dark. The mayor of the town calls you into his office. He politely ignores the fact that you're now a badger. He says that something mysterious is going on inside one of the town's restaurants. Everyone has turned into a zombie. Only one human is left in the bar, and you must save them. But first, you have to identify them. You're shown a photo with 3 people. Only one of them is human. You've got 3 seconds. It's the lady on the right. It looks like the red spot on her shirt came from her hot dog. The lady on the left is missing part of her ear. Now the mayor takes you to the local school. The principal needs to decide which of the students deserves to go to space camp next summer. She picked all the students that got A's on their report cards and gave each of them a bean. She said, "The person who will return with the tallest bean plant will win the prize. But you can't cheat." All kids came back with large plant pots and bean plants filled with smaller beans. Only one girl returned with a plant pot filled with soil. As soon as the principal saw her pot, he gave her the prize. Why? Here are your 3 seconds. The teacher gave them cold cooked beans. They couldn't have sprouted unless the students cheated. And these guys all got A's, huh? Makes you wonder. The mayor takes you with him on an investigation. A man named Martin had finished his veggie garden and invited his friends over for a party. Then his wife vanished. He called detectives, and there are 3 suspects in front of you. Steve said he was looking at the cherry tomatoes and picked one to try it. Donna said she was checking out the little squashes that had started growing. Martin said he was taking professional pictures of the flowers for his blog. You've got 2 seconds to determine who's lying. It's Martin. This was a veggie garden. It didn't have any flowers. Time for your last test. You're walking into an underground tomb. You must retrieve the treasure and make it out alive. As you walk deeper and deeper into the tomb, you come across a mysterious creature. He says, "You must correctly answer my riddle. If you do, the treasure is yours. If you don't, you'll disappear forever. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air to breathe. If water touches me, I cease to exist. What am I?" 2 seconds. The answer is fire.
Alan is a famous scientist. He invented a special potion that awakens superpowers in humans. One night, he was having a secret Zoom conference with his colleagues. Alan's assistant, Betty, entered the office and brought him some coffee. In a while, Alan said goodbye to his colleagues and fired Betty. Why? She poured poison into his mug. Alan saw her reactions because the front camera on his laptop was working. Later that day, Alan went to the basement where he kept his secret invention. Unfortunately, someone broke into his safe and stole the potion. Alan interrogated 3 of his co-workers in the building. Will said, "Sorry bro, I've spent the last 24 hours watching rats for my research." Peter said, "I didn't even know they had a basement. You're full of surprises, man." And Diana said, "I think we heard weird noises from your office 2 hours ago." Who stole the potion? Peter. Take a look at his legs. He's levitating. When Peter was exposed, he took off into the sky and escaped. Alan headed to the parking lot, but someone had stolen his car. He called the police and found it across the street. The thief hit a tree and escaped. The police interviewed 3 suspects. Lily said, "I'm a courier. I came here to deliver food for the lab workers." Nina said, "I'm from a cleaning company. I'm here to clean, not steal cars." Bob said, "I parked my car to get some coffee. I didn't see any crimes." Can you guess who stole the car? Nina. Look at her watch. It's broken. And the black glass fragments are still in the car. Alan came home. Someone broke into his house and stole a laptop with secret information. Alan interrogated 3 of his neighbors. Rosie said, "You might think I'm crazy, but I saw a flying man outside your house." Nick said, "I spent all day in the garden picking apples. I didn't see anything suspicious." And Zoe said, "I was at a shopping mall with a friend and just arrived." Who lied? Zoe said that she had been shopping but didn't carry any bags. Suspicious, but possible. Meanwhile, Nick said that he'd been picking apples, but all the apples in the garden are still on the trees. So the liar is Nick. Alan went to the airport to take a flight to Argentina. He wanted to consult with his colleagues about Peter, but there were a lot of people who wanted to fly away too. Online booking stopped working, so there was a long queue. Alan is the 20th from the bottom in a line of 100 passengers. What's his position at the top of the queue? The position of passengers standing higher in the queue is 100 minus 20 equals 80. Therefore, Alan's position from the top is 80 plus 1 equals 81. After purchasing a ticket, Alan headed to the public toilet. A woman stopped him at the entrance and said, "Sir, can you please tell my husband to hurry up? His boss is calling him and it's urgent." Alan agreed, went into the toilet and looked at the stalls. He found the woman's husband right away just by looking at his feet. What about you? The guy on the left is her husband. They have similar tattoos. Finally, Alan got on a plane and flew from New York to Argentina. It took him 10.5 hours to reach the final destination. After spending 3 days in Argentina, Alan flew back home. However, it took 630 minutes this time, even though the plane flew at the same speed. Can you guess why? Ten and a half hours are the same as 630 minutes. After getting home, Alan noticed Peter running away through the backyard. Alan followed him, but Peter was too fast. Suddenly, Alan saw his motorbike in the parking lot. He questioned 4 people standing nearby. "Hey guys, whose motorbike is this? I need to borrow it." But all 4 people replied, "It's mine." Alan took a closer look at the vehicle and quickly figured out the owner. What about you? The third guy is the owner. He's the only person who's not wearing or holding a helmet. His helmet is attached to the bike. Alan hit the road. He wanted to get to his lab to make an antidote for Peter as soon as possible. There are 4 possible ways to get there. Can you guess which way is the shortest? The 4th one. The trick to solving this maze quickly is to start drawing from the end. Someone filled Alan's lab with sleeping gas. He passed out and woke up in a creepy basement. Alan found 4 doors leading outside. He has only 1 chance to escape. He won't be able to use the doors again. Behind the first door, there's a water-filled room swarming with sharks. The second door leads to the room filled with a spider's web. The third door hides a space where scorpions are falling from the ceiling. And the 4th door is hiding hungry lions. Which door is more or less safe to enter? Alan should choose the second door. Although crawling through spiderwebs might be gross, he'll be okay. Alan arrived at Peter's house. Peter lives with 2 roommates, his friend Sam and his brother George. Can you guess which one of these bedrooms belongs to Peter? George is the only one who's holding a laptop in his hands. Therefore, his bedroom is the first room that doesn't have a laptop. See this pillow with red hair in the 3rd room? It looks just like Sam's hair color, so it's probably his bedroom. Therefore, Peter lives in the 2nd room. Peter apologized to Alan for stealing his invention and asked him not to call the police. Alan offered Peter to play a game. He gave Peter 100 pills, 50 red and 50 blue, and 2 empty boxes. Alan said, "I will leave the room for a while, and I'll need you to place all the pills in 2 boxes. When I come back, I'll draw a pill from any of the 2 boxes, and if the pill's blue, I'll forgive you. Keep in mind that no box can be empty. And you gotta place all 100 pills in one of the 2 boxes. Good luck." How can Peter raise his chances of winning? He should put 1 blue pill in 1 box and the other 99 pills in the 2nd box. This way, the chances are 50-50. The next day, Alan decided to explore an abandoned hospital. 1 week ago, the locals reported some strange sounds coming from this house, and some people saw a ghost wearing a wedding dress. As soon as he entered the building, he heard screams from the attic. Alan walked upstairs and found a wedding dress in a closet nearby. The music speaker replayed creepy sounds over and over again. Alan found 3 neighbors and asked them one similar question. "What did you do 1 week ago?" Chuck said, "I was on a business trip in London for a month. I came back today." Sarah said, "This dress is not mine. I got married in a red one. It suits me much more." And Wendy said, "I'm a doctor. I had many duties in the hospital that day." Who's lying? Sarah. Alan didn't mention the dress, but she started making excuses anyway. Peter was fond of collecting rare coins. When he was 20 years old, he bought a special box to collect his coins. On his every birthday, he put 250 coins in the box. Meanwhile, his sister, who was also fond of collecting coins, took out 50 coins from Peter's box on her birthday. Peter was very surprised at his 60th anniversary when he opened his box. There were only 500 coins inside. How can this be possible? Peter was born on February 29th. Thus, he put 250 coins every 4 years. In 40 years, he put the coins in only 10 times, making a total of 2,500 coins. His sister was born on any other day, and she took out 50 coins from the box 40 times, which means she took out 2,000 items. Therefore, after 40 years, Peter's box only had 500 coins.